Good evening and welcome to the June 2nd Bloomington Planning Commission meeting. The Planning Commission advises the City Council on development proposals, development standards, long-range planning, and transportation issues. Some items the Planning Commission has final decision authority, such as that tonight. Others the City Council will make the final decision. Planning Commission is made up of 7 volunteers and we have 4 of us here tonight, so we do have a quorum, so we'll move forward with our agenda. We have 3 items on our agenda, 1 public hearing. But before we begin, let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and before we begin, as has been the case for several months now, I will turn it over to Mr. Markegard to let people know at home how they can participate. Mr. Markegard?
Sure, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. We are in person here tonight, so we have 1 public hearing and anybody can testify live here at City Hall, but you can also testify remotely. If you would like to do so remotely, just call the number on the screen and then enter in the access code, and you'll be able to provide input remotely. We'll have this number on the screen throughout item number 1 tonight. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Markegard. And with that, we'll go ahead and go to our first item, which is a conditional use permit for a pet services facility. And I believe, Ms. O'Day, you have the staff report for us?
I do. Thank you. And let me see. There we go. Can you see my screen?
We can.
If I can't hear anyone.
Oh, we can. Did you hear us? Not yet. How about now?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can. You can text her. Everything was going swimmingly until then.
Yeah, we have some gray
You
boxes.
can hear me. Shirley, if you can give me a thumbs up and I can continue with the.
Now we can't see it.
But we can't see it.
Great.
Oh, it's back.
Thank you. So item 1 on your agenda this evening is for a conditional use permit for a pet services facility at an existing building at 9056 Penn Avenue South. The property is situated at the corner of 90th and Penn intersection. Surrounding uses include single, family, and multifamily uses, as well as some retail and commercial type uses. The vet clinic would be in the same building as CSL Plasma, where my cursor is here. The tenant space is approximately 4,600 square feet. And just a note about the tenant, they do currently operate just across the street where the yellow arrow is on my screen. And then here's an image showing the approximate tenant space location. And then here is the submitted floor plan. These are typical spaces you'd find in a vet clinic. So there's exam and surgery rooms, an office and break room, a lab, and some kennels. And then a couple years ago, the city adopted pet services related performance standards. So one of those is sound attenuation. So the applicant must demonstrate on a plan that they're having an SDC rating of 55 for the common walls that are shared with the CSL Plasma tenant space. And then they must submit some operational documents, including that addresses odor and noise mitigation, disposal methods of pet waste, and cleaning and maintenance routines. and they must submit that with their building permit. And then lastly, just for the record, that no outdoor pet areas are allowed in this zoning district. And then a couple miscellaneous items. There is a few dead shrubs that they must replace, and they must demonstrate that they're having interior trash, so their floor plans must be modified to show that. And then lastly, their site plan must show a sidewalk connection from Penn Avenue to their primary building entrance. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the conditional use permit. It's a final decision by the Planning Commission. And then just for the record, I did receive one email in support of the application, and that should be in your agenda packet.
All right.
So hopefully you got all that. I'm not sure if I can hear you yet, but.
Thank you, Ms. O'Day. And if you can't hear us, Glenn will type to you. Although I don't know why I just said that, because she wouldn't be able to hear us. Any questions that Glenn could send a message to Ms. O'Day on for the staff report? Go ahead, Commissioner Roman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is not specific to this application, but Ms. O'Day's presentation referenced those modified standards from a few years ago for pet services facilities. Have we had any issues with compliance in general since those were strengthened?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Roman, I'm not aware of any issues.
Thanks. Just sometimes it's good to know if things are working as intended.
All right. Any other questions? Commissioner Cookton?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I noticed on the aerial view, and I noticed in the staff packet as well, it seems like, is the Burger King on the same site as this? Because it's a different address. But I noticed that they're both in the box there. What's the situation there?
Mr. Markegard?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Cookton, there are two buildings on one parcel, so they are on the same parcel. They have different addresses for, mail and public safety reasons, but they are on one common parcel.
Thanks.
Okay. Any further questions for staff? All right. With that, then, we will go to the applicant. If you'd like to speak in regard to the application in front of us.
I'd be happy to. Hi, everyone. My name is Ryan Jones. I'm representing Nova Veterinary Clinic. We've been essentially running that business, or we're the third in line now of that business since 1968, I believe. And thanks to a lot of hard work and good reasons, we're kind of running out of room. And I think our existing zoning is exactly the same as what we're moving from as moving to. Rather, with a lot of Liz's help, we've identified a lot of great things to add to and improve to the new proposed site. So we have no objections or qualms whatsoever following those pieces of guidance, and are looking forward to doubling our square footage.
All right. Any questions for the applicant? Great. It's good to hear that you're reinvesting in the city. So thank you.
Our pleasure. We're lifelong, well, I shouldn't say lifelong, but we both grew up in Bloomington, my wife and I, who run the business. So we're happy to be back.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. With that, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing on this item. And Mr. Markegard, not seeing anybody else in the chambers here who would like to speak to that item. Is there anybody online that would like to speak?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have one person online. I'm not sure if this person is part of the applicant team. Do you know, sir?
Sorry. Yes, Venkat, he's the owner of the building.
Okay.
So he may want to speak.
Okay. Well, yep. Mr. Vasudevan?
Hi, Venkat. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything to add?
No, it's great. Like, I think Liz has helped us out, and we are very happy to have Nova Vet Clinic as our tenant.
All right. Well, that's good. It's good to hear. Anything else you'd like for the Planning Commission to consider, or?
Nothing in specific right now.
Okay.
I'm all good.
All right. Thank you very much for speaking up tonight. Appreciate that. Anybody else, Mr. Markegard, online?
And Mr. Chair, we have no other callers online.
All right, commission members, with that, not seeing anybody in the chambers and nobody else online, I'd entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
All right, we got a motion to close public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Public hearing is now closed. Moving on to discussion. Planning Commission members? Any thoughts? Glad to hear. Go ahead, Commissioner Aubrey.
Thank you, Mr.
Albrecht?
Chair. I would just echo your comment regarding staying in Bloomington. I think that's great for this vet clinic. I think that the application is fairly straightforward and seems to be good use of space, and I'm in support.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Roman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I probably should have had this in the staff question part, but, you know, I know one of the things we look at is shrubs and trees and such. And it seems that the shrubbery at this location is it typical that we have shrubbery along the right-of-way that is as tall or as, I mean, I think about are we obscuring or creating something that's a safety issue along the sidewalk for pedestrians? And I'm sorry, I should have asked that during the staff questions.
Mr. Markegard?
Sure, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Roman, the requirement is if there are parking areas to have at least a 3-foot minimum screen. Now, it could be taller. That's up to the property owner. The one limitation is within clear view triangle areas.
Sure.
We have code requirements that shrubbery or any obstruction in that area be limited in height for traffic safety purposes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I don't have any concerns about this application. I think, again, that was my only observation was, and again, perhaps they've grown over time and they're larger than was originally intended. But I think this is a good reuse of a space that seems to have been vacant for quite a while. So I, too, am supportive.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Roman. Anybody else speak to this? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion. Commissioner Albrecht?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In case PL 2022-92, having been able to make the required findings, I move to adopt a resolution approving a conditional use permit for a pet services facility in an existing building located at 9056 Penn Avenue South, subject to the conditions and code requirements attached to the staff report.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Albrecht. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Abdi. All right, Commission members, we have a motion and a second in front of us to adopt a resolution approving a conditional use permit for a pet services facility in the existing building located at 9056 Penn Avenue South, subject to the conditions and code requirements attached to the staff report. Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And that is a final decision unless an appeal is received by 4:30 p.m. on June 7th. Okay. All right, moving on. The next item, which is Planning Commission synopsis from May 12th. And for Planning Commission members, everybody was in attendance for that meeting. So I would entertain a motion to adopt the May 12th, 2022 draft Planning Commission synopsis. Commissioner Albrecht?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was absent for this meeting, so I will abstain.
I apologize. I missed that one. Okay. So 1, 2, 3. Still got 4 of us. We're good. All right. Thank you. Anybody like to make a motion?
So moved.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Cookton. Is there a second to recommend approval of the draft Planning Commission synopsis from May 12th?
Second.
All right, we have a second, motion and a second. All right, Planning Commission members, we have motion and second in front of us to adopt the draft Planning Commission synopsis from May 12th, 2022 as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those abstaining say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Planning Commission minutes are adopted. Moving on to our last item for the evening, which is Planning Commission policy and issues update. Mr. Markegard.
Yes, Mr. Chair, looking forward to our next two Planning Commission meetings. On June 16th, we have no items, and since the item tonight wasn't continued, that meeting can be canceled. And then looking farther out on June 30th, we have one potential item, although it looks unlikely that it will be on the agenda. So that meeting may be able to be canceled, but we won't know for a couple of weeks.
All right.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Markegard.
Yeah.
Anything else?
yeah, Mr. Chair, since this may be your last meeting, I just want to recognize your 6 great years of service, 2 of which, the last 2 you've been chair, and certainly through a very interesting time with the pandemic, kind of unprecedented chair tenure. So you've been excellent, and we'll miss you and wish you well.
Thank you. Appreciate that. It's almost like I teed it up.
You didn't cover it, others would.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Markegard. And yeah, hopefully everything moves along and we don't have a meeting on the 30th. And I can say, yes, I had the great privilege of serving on this planning commission for 6 years. Really a very exciting time just for all the things that changed, not to mention the city dealing with and continuing their work through the pandemic. And I think we're leaving the hands, the Planning Commission, no doubt in my mind, will be even better in the next 6 years. So thank you all and good luck. All right, and with that, that concludes our June 2nd, 2022 Planning Commission meeting. Thank you.